Thomas estimates between 25 to 30 tubs of ice cream were taken.
We have great ice cream. I understand why they stole it.
But he doesn't understand what they'll do with that much of it.
He says he counted $4,500 in cash twice, and when he wasn't looking, the man switched the envelope. That second envelope contained 2 fake $50 bills and news clippings.
It doesn't matter where we go. People see her, and they know her as Martha from Canadian Tire everywhere.
You are listening to Keep Canada Weird.
Handsome Aaron Airport. We made it. We're here to do our weekly Weird News Roundup, a show we call Keep Canada Weird. But before we get into all the exciting stories we have in store for our listeners and correspondents, let me ask you, my friend, how are you doing over there?
I'm doing very well, my friend. How are you today?
I'm doing wonderful, but I don't want to talk about it. I have an extra special, refreshing thing in my hand that I just want to jump right into unless you got something important you want to say.
Well, it just didn't seem sincere about asking either of us how we were doing if you just wanted to jump right into your special drinks.
I didn't say special drink. I said special something, but it could be a drink. We'll see.
Well, I mean, there's only one thing that's special on this show, and that's the drinks.
I absolutely want to know how you're doing over there. What's going on in beautiful Cape Breton Island?
Oh, not much. Just, waiting on the weather to warm up, but it's not too bad. We've had a couple of decent days, so I've been getting outside as much as I can. But and things are good with you, I assume. You want to talk some numbers eventually, or what's going on?
Maybe we'll get into it, but I got something in my hand here that's quite refreshing, I imagine, and very exciting. I didn't know this existed. I was at the mall tonight. There's a store called Freak Lunchbox. They sell like imported candies and treats. And when I was looking through their pop selection, I found Dr. Pepper Cherry Crush. You ever see this stuff?
I've never seen it, no.
Me neither. Let's give it a shot. Whoa, it sprayed at me there.
Careful. Jeez.
Okay, first part of the review is the can opening sucks.
I've never seen you struggle with a can before.
Ooh, very cherry, but very good. I like a cherry pop.
Oh, okay. Okay.
The aftertaste is even better. Yeah, that's a good pop. What do you got over there?
This is something we've had on the show before, but not a lot, but a candy can.
Okay, that's been a while.
It's been a while since I or you have had a candy can on the show. This is 0 sugar, 0 caffeine. This is bubblegum flavor. And the can is very decorative. It's got all these kind of polka dots on it, and it's very festive. And let's crack it open. See if I have the same struggles that you just did.
No. Nailed it.
No.
No notes.
Oh, yeah. Oh,
okay.
yeah. God.
Now, you were a little surprised that I tried to put the special drinks really in the front of the show, and that's because I needed to make some room here. We got something we need to talk about, and you can probably guess what it is. This is our 213th episode of Keep Canada Weird, and do you know why that's special?
I told you there's only one thing that's special on this show, and it's the drinks, so I have no idea what you're talking about now.
Well, let me tell you this. Tonight is a big night, episode 213 of Keep Canada Weird. I think we're going Hollywood because 213 is an area code in Hollywood. That's pretty interesting.
Yeah, well, it's got to be an area code somewhere, so that's where it ended up.
213 to some people is to area codes what 90210 is to zip codes, I guess. And I think that's interesting. But there's an even more interesting fact I have about the number 213. But first, let's hear a bit of feedback on this number segment and the numerology that we're embedding into these episodes. Last week in episode 212, you called out to listeners to support you in your complaints against me and my interest in finding meaning within the number of episode. And yeah, we got some good, some bad, some constructive feedback. Let's start with someone who's against what I've been doing at the beginning of the episodes here. Here's Brianna's support of your action against the number segment.
Hi, Jordan, Aaron. It's Brianna from Michigan. Just wanted to call on behalf of Aaron and say that I am also not a fan of the number segment. I don't know. It's not my favorite part. Also, just wanted to say that I appreciate you guys putting the animal food eating segment at the end so we didn't have to listen to it if we didn't want to.
I guess you're not surprised to hear people coming forward to support you?
It's about time that I'm getting some backup here in terms of my fight against the numbers segment. So I just really want to thank these correspondents this evening that are stepping up to the plate and doing what's right and finally serving some justice on this show and fighting against the numbers segments. In terms of how many are for it and how many are against it, we don't have that information yet. Maybe it's even, maybe it's weighed heavier on one side. I don't know yet.
I'll tell you this. That was the one voicemail I had against the numbers segment. So let's move on to the more supportive and constructive stuff. Here's a supporter of the numbers segment, Bonnie.
Guys, this is Bonnie from Minnesota. I'm calling to ask you to drop that god-awful area code numbers thing. I was going to call in last week, but I just assumed that hundreds and thousands of people across North America and the world would have called in to beg you to 86 that thing. So just wanted to let you know that I'm on Aaron's side completely, and I hope never to hear it again. Bye-bye.
Did you pick up the sarcasm in her voice?
No, there was no sarcasm. She hates a number segment.
No, she hates it. She said we should 86 it. That's like a dog whistle of support.
No, what she's doing there is she's using numbers. She's fighting fire with fire. So she's using numbers against the numbers. And so that's what you have to do in desperate times, call for desperate measures. So I thank her for this. She's definitely sincerely against the numbers segment, as I'm sure most of the correspondents and listeners are. Just some of them are too afraid to speak up because maybe they're worried about getting banned by you. Maybe they're worried about getting cut off from swag packs. If it were up to you, the entire episode would be just about numbers.
I know what you're saying, Bonnie, and I'm glad I have your support. Let's move on to Jess, who has some constructive criticism on the numbers segment.
Hey guys, it's Jess from Ottawa. I'm just calling in regard to the episode number, area code, interesting fact segment that you've recently started doing. So I actually find it quite interesting to know what the numbers might be related to, but I feel like the area code or the fun fact about the episode number should strictly be Canadian, like a Canadian area code, an interesting Canadian fact. But yeah, that's just my 2 cents. Keep the segment, love the segment, but keep it strictly Canadian.
I like that, but it's very difficult because there's many more American area codes than there are Canadian ones. But I bent and I stretched and I found something that I think is a universally interesting fact about the number 213. Think of it in terms of time. 213 seconds is 3 minutes and 33 seconds. 333. Have you ever heard of an angel number?
No.
That's a repeating number. And people in numerology, they find incredible meanings in repeating numbers.
Yeah, she does bring up a good point about the Canadian aspect of the numbers and how it should strictly be Canadian. I agree that if you are going to do a numbers segment, you should only be able to do it if you have a Canadian link to those numbers. Okay. But the problem is math and numbers are, it's a universal language, and it's not a strictly Canadian thing. But my biggest gripe with the numbers debate here and the numbers segment is it takes up just, a solid 25 minutes of the first part of the episode. And
okay, well, let's just continue to workshop it and work on it. We have one against it, one for it. We have a bit of constructive criticism to go forward with. Let's just get into the first story of the night, because as divisive a topic as the number and the meaning of the number related to the episode is, there's an even greater cultural war about to take over Canada. I think you probably know what I'm talking about. Dunkin Donuts is set to invade this country and take Tim Hortons head on. Dunkin Donuts announced a major return to Canada, with Canadian restaurant operator Foodtastic aiming to open hundreds of locations starting in 2027. Here's a quick news clip on it.
An iconic American brand has its sights set on taking a bite out of Canada's lucrative market for everything donuts and coffee.
The response we're getting today, I think we're going to probably be able to open one Dunkin' every week.
That's about 52 Dunkin' Donuts popping up across Canada per year beginning in 2027. Canadian food restaurant operator Foodtastic, that also runs other popular chains across the country, says it signed a master franchising agreement with Dunkin's American owner, Inspire Brands, to bring hundreds of locations north of the border. Just how that will land on the palate of coffee-craving Canadians has sparked heated donut shop debate.
Well, when I'm in the States, I enjoy the Dunkin' Donuts.
Dirty secret.
Yeah, but I mean, I can't say no to Tim's.
We would definitely try out the donuts.
Foodtastic, who now holds Dunkin's rights in Canada, is Canadian, and they're pouring cold water over any anti-American impulses.
We're based in Montreal and Toronto. We pay taxes here. The franchisees are all going to be Canadians.
Foodtastic's CEO tells us the company plans to spend the first 24 months opening up Dunkin' Donut locations in the Greater Toronto Area as well as in Montreal before setting their sights on the rest of the country.
So this is big news. I'll tell you, when I go down to the United States, I often will hit Dunkin's because they're everywhere. And every time I do, I think like, man, this place would blow away Tim Hortons in Canada. I feel like the prices are about on par with what Tim sells, but I feel like there's better selection and way better quality product at Dunkin' Donuts. I think this should be scary news for Tim Hortons.
Yeah, when I was in Boston last year, I went to a Dunkin' Donuts for a coffee and for a breakfast sandwich and really enjoyed it. And it's far superior to Tim's. You know, I mean, that's no surprise myself or you saying that, but certainly Tim's is not a Canadian company anymore, hasn't been for many, many, many years. So there's absolutely no national pride when it comes to Tim Hortons anymore. That is down the drain. And we have Robins here. So like my national pride and supporting a Canadian coffee brand, that money goes to Robins. It's nice to have a secondary coffee shop to go to, which my secondary shop right now is McDonald's. You know, I'll go to McDonald's for coffee if I'm not near a Robins.
Yeah, McDonald's doesn't have the selection though that Tim's does of the baked goods and stuff. So they're not they're not a perfect competitor. Dunkin's is an absolute competitor with Tim's. They sell all the same stuff.
I mean, Dunkin' Donuts used to be here. We used to have a Dunkin' Donuts in Sydney, Nova Scotia. I think it's been about, I don't know how long it's been, maybe 25 years since that's been open. But I remember going there as a teenager.
I do as well. And they were across Canada, but maybe 20, 25 years ago, for the most part, they left. The final locations were in Quebec, and they closed in 2018. They haven't been here since then. But this is a big deal. Like, they're coming back strong. They're opening a bunch of restaurants initially in Ontario and Quebec, but they're aiming to open one a week until they have, until they're across the country. So this is a big move, and it's certainly a battle between them and Tim Hortons for market share. But Dunkin' Donuts, they're kind of going after a different clientele. Like, it seems like Tim Hortons, if you go in there, a lot of the people there, it's kind of like older people for the most part, I think, are the people that are really loyal to Tim Hortons. Dunkin', they claim that their marketing is more towards the 13 to 35-year-old crowd, which made me remember when I was last at Dunkin' Donuts, I walked in, and you're going to like this. There was one whole wall that was like a collage of Sabrina Carpenter stuff. I guess she has a big partnership with her espresso in Dunkin's. And I don't know how you feel about that and if that will come to Canada with Dunkin's.
Certainly, I hope so. And I support Sabrina Carpenter, in whatever business ventures that she chooses to undertake. I'm with open arms. I am waiting for Dunkin' Donuts to completely invade us and make us the 51st state of coffee.
People are going to criticize Dunkin's as being an American chain, but in this situation, they're no more an American chain than Tim Hortons is an American or Brazilian chain or whatever the case may be, where it's a Canadian company out of Montreal that owns a whole bunch of other places like Pita Pit, Second Cup, a whole bunch of other stuff. They're buying like the Canadian rights to use Dunkins. So it's not like Dunkin'. You could never say it's a Canadian company, but you also can't say that about Tim Hortons.
Well, actually, under that circumstance, I think Dunkins, once they open up here by this Canadian company, will be more Canadian than Tim Hortons is.
That's a very good point. But you brought up something that I wanna really bang over the head, and that is Robin's Donuts is Canada's #1 coffee chain. It should be in the eyes of anyone who respects Keep Canada Weird. It is. You and I have both said a million times, Tim Hortons pretends to be what Robin's Donuts is. And I want to play a little voicemail about that. We have a listener named Blair who took the journey to Robin's Donuts on our recommendation, and she wants to share her review.
Hey, Aaron and Jordan. It's Blair, your correspondent from St. John, New Brunswick. I'm calling in because my girlfriend took me to Robin's Donuts for the first time, and I wanted to call in and say that you were not fronting at all. That was the best coffee and donuts that I've ever had. I sadly grew up in Ontario and did not have them. I was forced to eat at Tim Hortons because there was no Robin's in my world growing up, and it was just unbelievable. I will never eat at Tim Hortons again. Thank you, both of you, for introducing Robin's. Mwah. Love from St. John.
That was really nice, wasn't it?
That was great. Yeah, it's great to hear some love for Robin's. I feel bad for people who don't have a Robin's close by that they can go to. I'm so lucky to have several within spitting distance of me right now. And so I can go to Robin's pretty much any time. So I'm easily able to avoid Tim Hortons most of the time.
Yeah, well, it's going to be interesting come 2027 when Dunkin Donuts starts rolling across this country, wreaking havoc on Tim Hortons. We'll report on that when it comes, but we got to get into the stories. Let's take our first break. When we get back, we're going to get into the first of our two segments. I have a collection of good news stories for you and a collection of bad news stories for you. You want to start with the bad news first? Get it over with?
Usually in my life, I like to start with the bad news. So that way, good news is a nice dessert.
Okay. After this short break, we're going to hear some bad news that kept Canada weird last week. Handsome Aaron Airport, you made the decision. You want to hear the bad news stories first, and we got some doozies here. Let's start with something we talk about a lot, scams and Facebook. An Edmonton man says he lost a $4,500 laptop during a Facebook Marketplace meetup at the Southgate Mall in Edmonton. And he lost it despite counting the cash twice before completing the deal. This is the story of a sleight of hand Facebook scam.
An Edmonton man says he was scammed out of thousands of dollars in a Facebook Marketplace transaction.
I would call it a sleight of hand trick. A magic trick that I didn't like being on the end of. So
that's Rick. He does not want his last name published and says last week he sold a high-end Dell laptop to another man at the food court in Southgate Mall. He says he counted $4,500 in cash twice, and when he wasn't looking, the man switched the envelope. That second envelope contained two fake $50 bills and news clippings. Rick went to security and filed a police report. He now wants to warn others.
I was super embarrassed, super ashamed. I didn't want to tell anybody. But if we don't all stick together and start telling each other what's happening out there, this is how they get away with this more and more often.
Rick says if he ever does another Facebook Marketplace exchange again, he will do it at a police station.
Yet more support for police stations across Canada becoming Facebook Marketplace venues.
Yeah, no, they're going to completely get overwhelmed with the amount of under-the-table deals that are going on in front of their stations.
The media is really trying to push that because it seems every week we have a story that ends with, and you can do this at the police station.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it probably is the safest place on earth to do it. But I don't know if that would have really helped this guy because it wasn't until after he left that he noticed the money was replaced with paper clip.
Yeah, that's right. So like the people who are, bear spraying you in the eyes and running off with your Pokemon cards, they may not be brazen enough to do it at the police station. But what this guy did with the whole, he had 2 envelopes, one with $4,500 of cash, passed it to him, and Buddy counted it twice.
Yeah, counted it, and
then somehow he managed to make the switch, which is pretty wild. But I guess for a $4,500 laptop, I didn't even know they got that expensive. But with big rewards, people are willing to take big risks, and that was a big risk.
Yeah, I would like to know. I wish he had have gotten into the details of, because when you're counting the money, and he said he counted it twice, and then why would he give him the money back in some kind of a distraction? Like what distraction or what ploy did the perpetrator do to convince him to give him the money back?
Here's how I would have done it to my kids. We would sit at the table, and they would count the money, and then they'd sit the envelope on the table, and I was like, "Whoa, look at that!" and just point like in the other direction. And when they looked, I just whoop, whoop, quickly swap the envelopes.
Yeah, I guess, but I just can't see how that would be possible in a deal like this, where they're like meeting somewhere public.
They're in a food court, so there would be lots of noise and commotion.
I guess if he had it on the table, he had the envelope resting on the table.
And there's also a laptop in play as well. So
and it's like, oh my God, that woman's attractive. And then the guy looks and then he switches. Or, oh my God, is that a Robin's Donuts over there?
Could be. Or it could have even been something as simple as like laying the laptop on top of the envelope and, lifting, just doing some weird stuff with that. Like often with the sleight of hand stuff that we've seen, there's that sort of thing, like maybe a bag or a purse in play, and that is involved in some way. But I don't know, but I would have liked him to explain that a bit better. And I also would have liked the news clip to show the photo of the person who did it. If it happened at a mall, certainly they're captured on video from a million angles. Could they not, could the cops not, give up this guy's photo?
I don't know. Who knows? There's a lot of unknowns here with this one, and we'll have to just see if an update, which I doubt, will eventually come out. Yeah,
we'll never get one. With
not
these
with
scams,
a story like this. No.
Yeah, with these scams and stuff, there's people never get their money back or their laptop back. There's never justice. The only thing we can do is raise awareness and not fall for them, which is the reason why all this stuff is on the news so much. But I just want to say what he ended up getting for his $4,500 laptop was in an envelope that was 2 fake $50 bills and a bunch of newspaper clippings. Kind of a strange thing to stick in there. I guess you got to put something in there.
You got to put something that's kind of going to have the same consistency as cash. Yeah. So it's going to create the same amount of thickness. It's going to feel in an envelope relatively the same, close enough.
Yeah, good. That makes sense. I feel bad for this guy. That's certainly a bad news story. Let's move on to another one. I don't know if this one's even worse, but this one's bad. A long-running eatery in Cambridge, Ontario named L.A. Frank's is dealing with the fallout after burglars cut into a shed and raided the business's ice cream freezers, leaving this family-run business out thousands in dollars and almost thousands in liters of ice cream. Here's the story of the Great Cambridge Ice Cream Heist.
This bread tray was propped up against this door here where my freezer is, and this is where the pop and the ice cream and the oil was taken out of here.
A big hit for a small Cambridge business, not the start to a season that LA Frank's owner Russ Thomas was hoping for.
This is our 34th summer in business. We sell hot dogs, ice cream. We make the best milkshakes in town. We use Shaw's ice cream out of the Port Stanley area.
Ice cream so good it seems criminals scooped up much of their inventory.
They have got a grinder of sort, obviously battery driven, and they have cut through there to gain access. My heart just went all the way down, and I knew I didn't even have to look inside. I knew what was going on.
Thomas estimates between 25 to 30 tubs of ice cream were taken.
We have great ice cream. I understand why they stole it, but hey.
But he doesn't understand what they'll do with that much of it.
They may have problems storing that much ice cream. I'm not sure what they're doing, maybe reselling. I don't know.
It's a financial blow to the family-owned food joint.
We're talking a couple $1,000s. And, unfortunately, when a small business has to eat that kind of cost, it affects everybody.
LA Frank's operates out of a city-owned building where surveillance cameras are installed. Both the city and police are working to determine whether they captured the crime, although the waiting game is hard.
I take it personally, and so does my wife, and it hurts. It sucks.
Sounds like a great shop.
Yeah, no, hot dogs, milkshakes. It's
Poppin'
a perfect
oil.
summer shop, when you're out doing whatever summer activities you got and you just want a big hot dog and a milkshake. Oh my God. I really want to be there right now, to be honest.
Yeah, I feel bad for the guy, though. It's an interesting crime, though, when you really peel back the layers and think about it. For one, this is certainly like an organized thing. If you think of it this way, they had to get their battery-powered saw. They had to get probably their truck or their van or something. When they get the ice cream out of there, they needed to have access to either like a climate-controlled vehicle, like one of those restaurant vehicle things that move food, or have a bunch of freezers somewhere to put it in. And then you need a way to clear out this stuff. Like you need someone to buy a ton of ice cream from you, I guess.
Yeah.
So
it's the same situation or very similar to the butter thefts that we saw or have seen many times around the country that we've covered on this show, where people are stealing a large amount of commercial butter and with, obviously the same kind of organization that this would take, where you would need a climatized truck, you would need somewhere to store it, you would need someone to buy it in such volumes that you're not going to sit there on the side of the road selling butter or ice cream that's stolen. I guess the ice cream you could. When the summertime comes, it's like, man, we've got about 35 teenagers. They each have their own ice cream stand, and we're just going to make a killing.
Yeah, good work. To get an idea how much ice cream this is, they estimated there was 25 to 30 tubs stolen. These aren't the kind of tubs you buy in the grocery store. Each one of these is a little over 11 liters of ice cream. So we're talking about 350-ish liters of ice cream that was stolen from this guy. Unlike the butter, like with butter, it's easier to store and carry and move around and stuff. This amount of ice cream, this would be tough to manage.
And then it's just the motive. It's like, we're going to steal a bunch of ice cream and sell it. Why not steal something else? Why not stick to stealing money? We heard about a gentleman who's, ripped somebody off $4,500 computer, steal computers.
Yeah.
Steal anything else but ice cream. There's some kind of an underground organized crime reign of food.
Dairy.
Just dairy.
Dairy
yes.
stuff.
Yeah, it's happening. And nobody has figured it out yet. I think who's involved, why, how, all of these things are completely unanswered.
Thinking about butter, it would be more, I feel like it'd be easier to sell that to like a kind of shady restaurant or something. But I feel like selling stolen ice cream, there's just something really weird about that. Unless these people who are behind the theft have like their own competing ice cream shop, like maybe in a neighboring community or something. It's a weird one, but it's not the only weird bad news story left to talk about. I want to move on to another one, unless you got anything else to say about a ridiculous amount of stolen ice cream.
Well, when you say a competing store, and I can't see that being likely unless it's on the television show Trailer Park Boys. And I can see that this type of crime absolutely happening. Like this is a scheme that they've hatched, and they're going to sell a bunch of ice cream in the trailer park and make a bunch of money. So they have to steal the ice cream first before they can
from
sell
the place they're competing against.
Yeah. So I could see it in that scenario, but in reality, there is something at play here that we don't know about. Some kind of underground market, underground channels that lead to, because a restaurant is not going to buy a bunch of butter from somebody who isn't like a licensed butter sales company.
They already have people they buy butter from and they're ice cream from, and they're reputable
reputable companies. You can't, as a small business owner, you're going to be like, I'm not buying from you because it's clearly stolen butter or stolen ice cream. And I'm going to get in trouble by buying it. And I don't want to be known to my customers as, hey, this is discounted ice cream because it's stolen.
Let's move on to another bad news story. This one, well, it's bad, but it also has a little bit of good to it. So this will be sort of our transitional story that will begin to bring us towards the good news stories. But this one's weird. This is certainly a puberty problem story. It involves plenty of puberty problem nonsense. Ottawa police have been leading an initiative called the Residents Matter Project. It's an initiative that targets stunt driving, street racing, and unsafe vehicle activity across the city. While working the case this past Friday, they stopped a U-Haul cube van or a moving truck that was being driven by a 17-year-old. Upon investigation, officers found a mobile teen party bus, I guess is what we'll call it. Listen to this one.
Well, Ottawa police have charged a 17-year-old driver with stunt driving after a dozen teenagers were found traveling in the back of a U-Haul on Prince of Wales Drive. Police posting this photo showing the teens in the back of the vehicle. Police say the 12 people inside are between 17 and 18 years old, and some of them were seated on a sofa that was inside the cargo area. The driver is facing a 30-day license suspension. The vehicle was also impounded for 14 days.
So that news clip was actually a little generous for these young men. What it didn't mention is that there was like alcohol involved in this. Mm-hmm. They were basically like partying in the back of this U-Haul.
Well, so it's a U-Haul. Whose U-Haul was it? Because I don't think you're allowed to rent a U-Haul at that age, right?
Yeah, it was a 17-year-old that was driving it. I can't imagine the U-Haul rental company would be stupid enough to rent to a 17-year-old. And you would probably need a credit card and stuff. So
yeah,
there must be more to it.
And I think I'm not 100% sure, and maybe one of the good correspondents could let us know about this, but I always thought that you needed to be at least like 21 or something to be able to rent a U-Haul.
Well, it probably ranges per rental company. I don't know. I certainly didn't rent one before I was 21. I don't like even renting or driving them now. I find them terrifying to drive. Even the smaller U-Hauls, I feel like I'm driving like a warship through the city streets. Imagine having like 12 of my idiot friends in the back of it drinking. You'd probably be one of them.
Yeah.
There was 3 people in the truck, like the driver, 2 others, then 12 in the back. They had a coach or 2 back there, and apparently they were all just like sitting, playing on their phones, drinking and whatever else. I'm kind of surprised stuff like this maybe doesn't happen more often, because a U-Haul, they're not expensive to rent. Even rental cars, like it's not that much. And if you had 12 people, like they could have all threw in like $5 and been able to cover the cost to drive this thing around all night.
Yeah, but at the same time, there's much more comfortable places to drink illegally.
Like in the woods?
In the woods, in somebody's basement whose parents are away. And there's a number of places that they could go. A park, like, I don't know, wherever.
Yeah,
like,
it's a good point.
It just seems like it's such an obvious way to get caught. And again, I want more information on how they got a U-Haul, because I just don't think that they'd be able to rent a U-Haul.
I don't know if this is a hint, but in that clip, it said that the vehicle was impounded for a couple weeks. So it was like the U-Haul agent, like, you know, if it's just a rented U-Haul and the rental agency did nothing wrong, why would they impound their vehicle?
Mm-hmm.
So is there maybe a different connection between these kids and the people who own the U-Haul company or the U-Haul rentals? You'd think they'd just give it back.
You know, I think I've connected 2 of the stories tonight. So we were talking about the ice cream theft.
In Cambridge, Ontario.
That's right. And a loose idea I had was that they were rounding up teenagers to sell this ice cream for the summertime.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And so this was the teenagers kind of all gathered and getting ready to sell ice cream, stolen ice cream.
Well, there's other connections too. We said in this stolen ice cream case, you needed a significant amount of space in a vehicle. Mm-hmm. For example, a cube van.
Yeah.
like a U-Haul. What I'd be curious about is when the police busted this idiot's party bus, was there any ice cream? Were they all like, drinking and eating ice cream? That could be a pretty big clue.
Well, they could be pouring their vodka in their melted ice cream.
Actually, probably pretty good. There's probably some good, like I love a root beer float. Is there an alcoholic version of that?
I'm sure there is. Yeah, I'm sure there is.
There's
but
not a lot better than an ice cream float. Something about the creaminess of the ice cream melting in with the root beer.
yeah. So I think this is, the puberty problem. This is puberty problem 101, really. These infected are gathering in enclosed moving spaces and off to wreak havoc. And this is showing how they're becoming much more organized. I think this is an effort of organization. And I think that we need to take this as a red flag, a warning sign that they are assembling, they are figuring things out, and at a certain point in time, they're going to be rounding us up in these vans.
I said that this story was a bit of a transition from the bad news stories to the good news stories. It started off bad with what horrible antisocial things they were doing in this U-Haul, but it started to turn good when the police busted them and took their vehicle and took their licenses and everything else. So let's take our second and final break. When we get back, we'll continue with that trend of positivity, and I got a couple good news stories for you. And some of them are rather heartwarming. Something we love doing is going to parties. And when we get back, we're going to a party at Canadian Tire, Aaron. Handsome Aaron Airport, this is going to be a good one. We're going right to your backyard. Let me tell you a little story, though. 50 years ago, Martha McIsaac was hired by the Canadian Tire in Sydney, Cape Breton, Nova Scotia. She started working cash back in 1976 and has since worked in the paint department, in plumbing and electrical and sporting goods, and seemingly every other corner of the store. To mark her 50th anniversary of employment there, family, friends, customers, and coworkers threw a party. And guess what, Aaron? You and I also got an invite. Let's go to the Canadian Tire in Sydney, Nova Scotia, and celebrate Martha's 50th anniversary.
Any day you wear a sash and tiara to work isn't exactly a regular work day.
Well, I've been here 50 years. I started in 1976.
Today, family, friends, and co-workers, past and present, came to the Canadian Tire in Sydney to celebrate Martha McIsaac's half-century working here.
My mother and Canadian Tire are the same age. My mother was born 1922, September. Canadian Tire started October 1922. So I think it's a little bit of synchronicity going on.
It doesn't matter where we go. People see her and they know her as Martha from Canadian Tire everywhere.
McIsaac's daughter says not only is her mother a familiar face to generations of customers, but her loyalty to her workplace over the years has been unmatched.
I've spent many Friday evenings with her, wandering numerous other department stores that shall go nameless, to do price comparisons.
I was 3 years old when Martha started working at Canadian Tire.
When the party moved upstairs to the lunchroom, there was cake.
Oh my God.
A card signed by all her colleagues, and a service pin that isn't handed out too often.
Here's a 50-year pin. This one's pretty special.
Then the woman of the hour was presented with a watch, which apparently she doesn't need because her boss says in 50 years she was pretty much never late.
I don't know. I might go for my 75 years.
I really hope that she knows how much she's loved and appreciated. Well done.
This is 50 years.
I love that sort of thing. What? I do.
Really?
It's heartwarming.
Okay, let's dissect this then, because this is more interesting than the story itself.
Really? Okay.
Why do you love this so much?
I also, before I answer that question, I feel like you're about to poo-poo this story, and I want to tell the listeners that this story came from a correspondent named Handsome Aaron Airport who pitched this story. But anyway, the reason I like this story so much is it's like the magic of small town celebrity. This Martha for the last 50 years has grinded herself away, working at Canadian Tire, forming these relationships with customers and coworkers, and she's like a celebrity in that world. And there's something magic about that. I think it's her giving so much of herself to her community in a probably pretty thankless way. And I think celebrating her with a little party and on the news, that's a good thing. This is the kind of, I love these stories.
I mean, this is no disrespect to Martha and the hard work she's put in at Canadian Tire over these 50 years. But I do find this story really stupid. The reason I sent it to you is because I was like, this is such a dumb story.
Well,
we got to cover it on the show.
Well, there are some complaints that I would have about it. My big complaint would be you work for this company for 50 years, going as far as to do like espionage work, like where she's going to other like stores and comparing prices, which seems like it's outside of her role in the plumbing department or whatever it was she was working on. 50 years of work, and what they give her is a cake, a card, a pin, and a watch.
And a watch that they then turned around and said, but you don't need this.
You're never late. And she's like, I guess I'll go for 75 years. She's hoping for shares of Canadian Tire is what they should give her at that point.
Yeah, and it's a real slight on Canadian Tire as a company for when it's covered on the news that somebody has lasted 50 years for your company, where they're like, wow, that's a news story. Like that needs to be, everyone needs to hear about this, because this woman lasted at this company that we don't really think people should last that long at.
Yeah, like people usually quit after a couple of years because we don't pay well. I don't know what we'll do for her. I guess we'll get her a watch. We have a watch, right?
Yeah. And it's like Canadian Tire has turned into like a poor man's Walmart is how it really... but it tried over the past 15 years especially, it tried so hard to become Walmart, even to the point where they started selling food at Canadian Tire. They sampled that and nobody bought it, so they got rid of it right away.
Okay.
But they literally saw themselves having a grocery aisle, having all these things, and they do have most of the things that you would find at a Walmart, and
they do. You're right, and it certainly has changed. I wish she would never do it because Martha's blood bleeds Canadian Tire red. But if you gave her a few drinks, I bet she would tell you.
I'm sure she'd have some things to say.
Could you imagine how she could go? Imagine how much Canadian Tire has changed since 1976 in terms of their products, their pay, the way they support their employees, the people that work there. Man, Martha's got a story to tell. You know what I think they should do for her 50th anniversary is get her a book deal, because Canadians would read the dirty, behind-the-scenes expose that only Martha could give about Canadian Tire.
For this story to come up, and when I saw it come up, and I was like, man, this is so funny, because Canadian Tire is so surprised at somebody there's someone who's worked here for 50 years. Everybody quits after 6 months.
It's a good point. I got another unexpected story, probably even more unusual than working at Canadian Tire for 50 years. This will be our last story of the night. I think it's meant to be a feel-good story, but to me it seems like it's just a horrific accident waiting to happen. Micmac Mall in Dartmouth, Nova Scotia has opened its doors to the Happy to Chat initiative. That's a sort of public health program that involves placing signage in public areas that signal to others that anyone sitting in these spaces is open to meeting someone new and having a conversation. So let's hear about the mall coach friendship experiment that's about to come to Dartmouth, Nova Scotia.
If you choose these seats at Micmac Mall, it's an indication you're open to meeting someone new.
Areas that are designated in the mall that will encourage people to have conversations, maybe with people they haven't met before, with strangers, that just show that they're open to have a conversation.
The initiative originated in Cardiff, Wales in 2019.
there's lots of research on social connection, and it has not only a huge impact on our emotional well-being, but on our mental health and our physical health as well.
Micmac Mall says they're happy to be a new destination to open these lines of communication between strangers.
We really hope that this opens up lines of communication for people that maybe have a hard time starting conversations. Maybe they feel a little lonely. Maybe they feel isolated. This is a great natural spot for them to come to and look at other people that are maybe in the same situation.
People are already giving it a try.
Teenagers are lonely. Many of them maybe don't have good homes, and sometimes somebody like us, a grandparent, can say something that's meaningful and encourage them.
Cal and June are visiting from Ontario. They were surprised to see these signs, but say if they lived here, it's something they would take part in.
To be able to sit and talk, and you never know what comes from a conversation. Hopefully be a friend somehow.
The mall has 4 designated seating spaces right now, but will add more if they're popular.
I have a feeling they're not going to be adding more.
No, I don't think so.
Do we even need to talk about the many reasons why this is a bad idea?
It's one step away from adding a kissing booth into your mall. That's what I think.
It is ridiculous, and people will certainly use it for like dating opportunities, which maybe, I don't know. Maybe that's not a bad thing, but I have so much to say about this because I think everything about it is wrong. First of all, why the mall of all places? You're not allowed like loitering in the mall. Like, if you went and sat on the benches and you were just there I'm just here to talk to random people. I think the security kick you out, wouldn't they?
Well, no, I don't. You're allowed to loiter in a mall if you're there shopping. I think it's more to encourage people who are already there shopping who want to stop and have a conversation with someone.
How long into this program do you think it is that someone's like sitting at these benches with like pamphlets about like COVID stuff? Because I feel like that's what will happen.
Yeah, no, instantly. Yeah, instantly. Yeah, and then that leads naturally to a stabbing.
Yeah, it's. I feel like every part of this is wrong. It's like on its surface, it seems like a good idea, and like people who are lonely could sit and talk. But that's not what's going to happen. It's going to be weirdos and like just the absolute riffraff of the world is going to end up on these benches.
Yeah, and people are going to be exchanging phone numbers and emails. And then, do you ever have a person come into your life? And don't say that I'm this person to you. But do you ever have a person come into your life that just gloms onto you and then just wants to spend all of their time with you? And then they just become this thing that you have to manage and maintain. It's like,
no, I don't think I ever have. That's certainly not you.
There's somebody who wants to be your friend so badly that they become so annoying.
No, but I do. So our friend Randy, I do remember in high school, we were in all the same classes. Yeah. And then after school, I hung out with him as well. And I do remember being like, all right, that's enough, Randy. So that's the only thing I remember. The only like comparison I have.
Yeah. No, I've had, the odd time in my life, not now because I say no to things now.
Okay, yeah.
But when I was, in high school, in my 20s, I had a hard time saying no to people. And there would be people that would come along that would just want to hang out all the time and call you all the time and be in communication all the time. And it's like, you're just one of those people that can't give somebody space.
A succubus. Is that what a succubus is?
Yeah. A friendship succubus.
Okay. And are you suggesting that people are going to sit at this bench?
This is how you find a friendship succubus. Okay. Yes. You're sitting on this bench. The succubus comes up from the mist and oozes onto the bench across from you. And it's like, so you're open to talking, are you?
Could this also be used as a platform for discussing religious beliefs?
Oh, 100%.
And possibly recruiting people? And is that like who would regulate or moderate this chat? Could I just sit on one of these benches and be like, I am happy to chat with anyone who wants to chat with me about religion and politics?
Mm-hmm.
Chat needs moderators.
That's right. That's what every chat on the internet has, a moderator.
And I feel like a chat at the mall should too. That'd be an interesting job.
Yeah, it's completely unfiltered. It's unsupervised. If they're going to have it, it needs a supervisor. It needs an official supervisor who stands there, monitors, listens to the conversations, And if the conversations veer into politics, religion, conspiracy theories, whatever kind of stuff they could veer into that could be dangerous, then the supervisor steps in.
Yeah, separate. That's honestly, it would need it. But I think this is one of those things where this bench at the Micmac Mall in Dartmouth, it's going to have like this happy to chat sign. It'll last a month or two and then it'll just go away. If even a month or two.
It will. The signs will be ripped off. They'll be replaced with, drawings of penises and whatever else people do to mall property. And this won't last long. It's a dumb idea, and shame on the people who started this.
I like that. We're going to start wrapping up the show, but before I do, I want to have a little bit of a cherry on top. This has been a great episode, and it does need a cherry on top. Let's hear from a correspondent named Nat, who wants to come a bit to our defense, because we did talk recently about people who were giving some criticism about the show taking too long to get into the topics. Nat wants to talk about that a little bit.
Hi there. I'm calling in from the 514 area code, and I just wanted to respond to some of those comments, those hateful comments you're getting on the podcast platforms by people who listen to the show for the first time and say, they've been listening 10, 15 minutes and there's no news yet, and what the hell is this? And, honestly, if I'm honest, and I'm a weekly listener now, but when I first listened to the show, I had the same sort of reaction. It was 10 minutes in, there was no news yet. I sort of skipped forward throughout the episode to find the news, but now I'm a loyal listener, and I find that, I look forward to the banter. I want the longest episodes as possible. I'm loving all these extra features, whether it's wet food with Ken Tiggs, kibble with Penny, the whole numbers thing, and so just want to say, keep doing it. I'm tuning in. It's for the news, but it's also totally for you guys. It's for Ken Tiggs. It's for Penny. It's for the numbers. Thank you.
I like referring to those side quests as features. Features. Like wet food with Ken Tiggs.
Bonus features, yeah.
Bonus features that are valuable.
Yeah, extremely valuable. Well, maybe there's a way for us to weave in the bonus features. When we can take some of this criticism and say, okay, maybe we shouldn't front load the episodes with all of the bonus features. So maybe we'll weave them in throughout the show so that we start off with special drinks, we do a story. We do the numbers thing, which should be canceled and should never be aired on the show again. We do that after the first story. And then we do another, whatever.
Yeah.
Maybe a weaving, we could try it and see how it feels.
We should sit on a bench at the Micmac Mall and just talk to people about our podcast and try to get some advice.
No, that's where we should record our podcast.
That's actually a great idea.
Next time I'm up, let's do that.
They'd definitely kick us out of the mall, but I don't know. We could try it.
They wouldn't be allowed to because we're there to talk.
Yeah, it's a mental health thing.
Yeah, so screw you, security.
Anyway, let's consider the format of the show, how we place the numbers, where we place the numbers, when Ken eats, when Penny eats.
Well, the numbers won't be a part of the show anymore.
It's just getting good, man.
No, it's getting worse. It's getting worse.
We're going to get to some Canadian area codes.
No, in 10 years.
Isn't there?
No. Listen to me. Once the tsunami of voicemails come in next week, against the numbers segment, you won't be able to deny that.
Since we started talking numbers, our downloads have skyrocketed.
That's not true.
It isn't. All right, we'll consider it. I enjoy it. I like finding the interesting fact, and I know not many.
Well, you can do that all the live long day. You can sit at home and Googling numbers and be like, okay, what about the number 4? And then I'll look up the number 4 and guess what? There's a game called Foursquare and whatever.
Okay.
You can do that on your own time.
Okay, that's a good point. I'll consider that. I have a hard time when other people aren't as interested as I am about a specific thing. And maybe this feels like a bit of like a battle for me to convince you. Someday I will find the number where you go like, holy crap, that's pretty cool.
That'll never happen.
Okay. Well, we'll see.
because I work in numbers all day as an accountant.
You do accounting.
Do you think I want to come here? I want to do numbers crap all day, and then in the night sit here and listen to you drone on about numbers.
That's a good point. All right, I'll take that feedback, and I'll take it to heart. I'm going to think about that. I got some soul searching to do.
At least weave it. Okay. Gently weave it throughout the episode where it just lightly taps in and out, and it's not as heavy on, because you think about when you're carrying something, and if there's too much weight on one side, you're going to hurt your back. Let's end this thing, man.
Handsome Aaron Airport. Until next time.
Jordan, bust up, backhoe, numbers, Bonaparte. Until next time.
If you see a U-Haul driving by, let your memory take you back to all the stupid things you did as a teenager. I'm kind of disappointed me and my idiot friends didn't think to get our older brothers to rent us a U-Haul. That would have been a good time, but dangerous and not cool.
And Jordan, until next time, if you're at the mall and you see me sitting on a bench, regardless of what the sign says, don't talk to me about numbers.
I want to thank you for helping Aaron and I fulfill our mission to keep Canada weird. Now, if any one of you listening want to get more involved in what we're doing, we need all the correspondence we can get. So if something weird happens in your area, or if you have any thoughts on anything we discussed tonight, let us know about it. The best way to reach us is by using the voice recorder that can be found at thecanadiangothic.com/contact. Now, I'm going to start wrapping up the episode, but before we part, let us thank a few people. First of all, Aaron and I want to give a big thank you to all the correspondents who contributed to this episode. If your voice message was aired on the show, go back to thecanadiangothic.com/contact and fill out the form to claim your swag pack and Keep Canada Weird badge. We'll happily get it right out to you. Next, a big shout out to Unicole for the intro and outro voiceovers, and Monty Data, who provides the outro version of O Canada that you're about to hear. And then lastly, but most importantly, we have a massive thank you to every one of you listening, as without your interest and your support, this work would be impossible. And for any one of you out there who want to support the show financially and get more out of the show at the same time, please consider the premium feed. Our premium feed subscription costs just a couple bucks a month, and that money will fund the creation of new episodes. But the premium feed will also give you those episodes early, give them to you ad-free, and give you access to a full back catalog of Keep Canada Weird episodes and bonuses. You can go premium at thecanadiangothic.com/subscribe. And even if the premium feed isn't for you, you can still support the show by simply sharing episodes on social media. That's free, and it's a big help. So until next time, take care of each other, hug your loved ones tight, and please keep Canada weird.
And keep Canada weird. Please keep Canada weird.